From crease to crease and corner to corner, Bettor Hockey Now is NHL fantasy and betting done better. Step into the dot for Bettor Hockey Now on the Bettor Sports Network.
Yes, indeed. Welcome into the last episode of Bettor Hockey Now for the year 2023 on the Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm YouTube pages. I am Adam Bernard at Pucking Thoughts, and my line mates, as always, both here today. To my right is Mr. Anthony Rivera at Ant Rivera 86, and below me is Christopher Morais at Fuzzy Chris 91, fresh off of some Boxing Day scores, it sounds like, based on our pre-show discussion. So good for you.
It's the best time of the year, right? You get a little cheap discount. Whatever Santa couldn't afford this year, we can just clean up at a nice discount, and everybody wins.
I mean, that is the way to do it, because it's like whatever you didn't get for, if Santa missed out on something that you really wanted, there's your chance to go get it potentially at a discounted rate. But we don't do that down here in the States. Maybe we have to adopt it the way you adopted Black Friday.
Look, anytime I can get a discount on something, right? And by discount, I mean 5% off a brand new hockey stick I didn't maybe need. You got to do it.
Listen, this is the Christmas. There's always Christmas sales. I got another stick for a hockey. I needed it, and it's the anytime you get a discount, sale, clearance, it's never a wrong purchase. We're gonna actually today, with New Year's right around the corner here, coming up on Sunday. We're gonna go through. We each picked a team in each of the 4 divisions and came up with what their New Year's resolution should be for 2024. And then, of course, we'll wrap with sweater weather today. Winter Classic edition with the Kraken and the Vegas Golden Knights playing up in Seattle on New Year's Day, 3 o'clock Eastern time, I believe, noon Pacific. Looking forward to that. Those games tend to be low scoring anyway, and with the Kraken and the Vegas Golden Knights playing, that guy's 2-1 written all over it, if you ask me. But we'll talk more about that later when we do sweater weather. But without further ado, let's get into the NHL's Metropolitan division here. Let's talk New Year's resolutions. Let's start with you, because you, before the Christmas break for the NHL, got to go watch the Oilers and the Devils play. And the Devils are your team here. What is your New Year's resolution for the gang you love down in Newark?
Definitely need a goalie. Definitely could use a veteran defender, as we've seen since losing Graves and Severson, and discipline. This team seems to lack a little bit of discipline, maybe because they've been a little too cocky because of the offseason and where they were kind of placed by a lot of people, including myself. So this team needs to be more disciplined with the puck, because they're not going to be able to outscore every team, and it showed. I mean, that game against the Oilers, they were down 2-0 within 5 minutes, and we immediately texted each other about that. Then they go up 3-2, and they hold that lead until the third period, where they gave up 3 goals in probably about a minute and a half. So this team needs to get more disciplined if they are going to stick with the goalies that they have. They definitely need a goalie for sure. I don't trust Vanacek, and Schmidt is, too young right now, and a veteran defender if they could, to help out, because, the loss of Dougie Hamilton is not really helping right now.
I would just like to point out that both Christopher and I hit the over in that game, so just throwing that out there. That was a 7, I believe, and that there was still not a problem. So
if there's any win to take out of that, I'm glad you guys got some money off of that.
Now the question I have, and we know what Vanacek and Schmid are, but we also know, you mentioned the Devils' defensive deficiencies right now. They miss Ryan Graves. Do you think the goaltending would be serviceable if the blue line was a little more upgraded, or is this both things need to be addressed regardless of the other?
No, I definitely think so. And we saw last season, how well Vanacek was, and it's like, oh man, do we have a goalie here? And it looks like it's a one-hit wonder type season for Vanacek, and he has not been the same since the playoffs. And Schmidt has really not, grabbed that position by the hand, where he could take over and be the starting goalie for the team. So it's going to be going back and forth between both of them, and definitely a defender, a veteran presence to help out a Luke Hughes, as well as a Simon Nemec as well, to bring them along, because obviously the team can score and we know this, but there's going to be a lot of these games, and we talked about it before I went to the game. This is going to be a high scoring game, and it was, and you can't always do that, and you definitely can't do it in the playoffs.
Again, we talked about the Devils, and like we said, it's the same problems that they've had as the goaltending, and maybe you didn't expect to be as thin on the blue line as you are, but yeah, it's something that an issue that came up during the season and needs to be addressed.
It's definitely problematic, right? Like, so Vanacek has the 5th worst goal saved above expected, courtesy of Money Puck. So there's clearly a problem there, because in my mind, if your goal saved above expected is in a negative, it means that you not only are you not contributing to the team, you are a problem. You are a problem, and that is not good. It means that, right, ideally, you're at 0, no harm, no foul. You exist, right? Better, it meets expectations, basically. If this were, meeting with your manager at the end of the year looking for some money, you meet expectations, and that's fine. Goal saved above expected is positive, good for you. You exceed expectations, but right now, Vitek Vanacek is part of the problem, and he has to stop more pucks, or, like you said, just go out and find somebody who can. The Devils are a good hockey team. We know that they can score goals. Timo Meier obviously had a very happy holidays because he figured out that this is a good time to score goals. I'm very on board with what he was trying to accomplish. But this team needs somebody to stop the puck. I don't care who it is. I don't care where they get them. It could be Martin Jones for all I care at this point. That's where we are at this point of the year. So somebody there has to figure out how to stop the puck for this team to be anywhere near competitive to what they were last season.
And the team has 4 players that their plus and minuses are above expected. McLeod, Lazar, Miller, and Ball. That can't be your 4. It cannot be. Everyone else is in the negative, and that's not good.
Like we said, plus minus is not a be-all, end-all stat, but it can paint a broad stroke picture of a situation, and that's a good example of painting a broad stroke situation for a team. Now, because you're talking goaltending issues, that's kind of a nice segue to my team, and that's the Carolina Hurricanes. And the resolution is to make a deal for a goaltender before the Devils do. Because let's face it, the goaltending market, there's not much to be had out there, at least from an unrestricted upcoming free agent perspective. Chris mentioned Martin Jones. There are guys out there, but I don't think there's anybody in a UFA realm that is going to be more than a sidestep to what the Devils currently have. Or what the Hurricanes currently have. Now, their Hurricanes goal situation is you got Anderson, who we're probably not going to see him again. Ranta, got sent down. We know what he is at this point. All your eggs are in the Kochetkov basket. And, just doing some reading on the Hurricanes prospect situation between the pipes, and goalies are always tough to evaluate. But no, they don't have anybody besides Kochetkov that's projected to be ready until like 2026, 2027. John Gibson in Anaheim, who's just toiling away and used to being a workhorse and is not playing behind a great blue line. He's signed through then. If you're Carolina, your window is now in the next couple of years, because you've already had like a couple of years of it being a realistic window. Figure out how to make the cap situation work. Johnny Guitar's a workhorse. You put him behind the Hurricanes blue line, and I guarantee you he's going to put up better numbers than he is in Anaheim. It gives you time to develop Kochetkov properly. If he comes along and becomes the guy, okay, you have a very expensive backup, and then maybe you trade him at that point, but at least you have that insurance policy until he's ready to be the guy. Right now, he's kind of been forced into it, and I don't know if that's going to be a recipe for success. Right now, that second spot in the Metro is wide open behind the Rangers, and it's up for grabs, and you got to make a move to go get it.
It's crazy how we came into this season with Carolina having this, quote unquote, 3-headed monster in net, and it just has not worked out. And I think that the Freddie Anderson run, I think that it's done with. Guy can't stay healthy. and can't rely on Ranta. And Kochetkov is, he's still young, so yeah, whether it's the Devils or the Hurricanes, someone's gonna have to go after Gibson and bring him into net, and he would probably be. And you get to see him, right? You get to see him more being out there on the West Coast. You get to see him playing those games. Obviously, Anaheim is not good, but you still have a goalie who's serviceable and could probably help one of these teams that really need that run and could possibly be a cup contender.
Yeah, I mean, look, how much are you going to get out of John Gibson remains to be seen, but moving from the terrible Anaheim Ducks to a well-structured, Carolina Hurricanes. Carolina Hurricanes are not a bad team. They're not giving up a ton of shots. They need somebody to stop the puck. They have to find somebody who, can do that. And Gibson 5-on-5, right? We talk about goal saved above expected. It's a positive. So he's not the problem. Is it great? No. Is he serviceable? Sure. Is he better than Antti Ranta? Probably. Is he going to give you anything out of the order? I mean, at this point, you have to do something because you cannot continue to just bleed opportunities and bleed goals. You can't do it. You cannot have 3 goalies with a save percentage below 900 when you're giving up. I think it was less than like 28 shots a game. You can't allow that to exist. There's no reason for it to be that way. And we knew that this could be an issue for the Carolina Hurricanes coming into the season. We knew that, like Anderson getting, again, it's unfortunate to suffer a blood clot. There's nothing you can do about it, really. It is what it is. But we knew at some point something would saddle him and would cause, him to be unable.
This time it's out of his control.
It's not a question of if, it's a question of, when. And we got that, unfortunately, quite early. I don't think we predicted Ranta to be this bad and Kochetkov to be this bad as well. But again, that being said, you have to go out and do something to stabilize the goaltending situation. You have to go out. You cannot continue. We're almost midway to the season here. We cannot just say, hey, this will figure it out. We've gone through the first half, and you got to be a lot better in the second half if you just want to be a playoff team.
And like I said, with the Devil situation, they got to get a goalie, but they can afford to maybe take a chance on one of those side steps and hope it pans out. And they're a younger team that's on the rise, but Carolina kind of has already had a couple of years where they're at that tier now. They went to the conference finals last year. They ran into a super hot Sergei Bobrovsky. If he was even average, who knows how that series goes. So again, the time is now for Carolina. And like you said, Chris, you can't just sit there and do nothing because right now it's just Kochetkov, or you hope Ranta figures out his game in the minors and then comes back and is decent enough to put out there 50% of the time. But it's not an ideal situation there.
No, and like I said, something has to figure itself out. You can't just keep rolling out here and hoping for good things to happen. The definition of insanity is repeating an action over and over again, expecting a different result. And every time the Carolina Hurricanes send a goalie out there, it is insanity because they cannot put their body or limbs in front of a puck coming towards them.
And again, you look at other areas of the roster, like, they brought in Orlov in the offseason. So, I mean, the defense is rock solid. You look top to bottom with their lines. I mean, there's not a lot wrong there. It's just they need to stop the puck more. And for a team that likes to play in lower scoring games, it's even more importance. Now, we said, what are you going to get out of John Gibson, new scenery and all that. The Rangers with Jonathan Quick certainly have gotten more than they ever. If Jonathan Quick stopped playing today, it's been a fantastic year for the Rangers, and that's what you got your New Year's resolution for, Chris. That's your team. Right there.
Yes, I have the New York Rangers. Their New Year's resolution is dominance, just complete dominance. This team, I know it's terrible, but it is what they need here. They need to go into that second half of the season and just dominate because they are, I would say right now, in a class of their own in a very competitive Metropolitan division. For all the teams that we've talked about so far that have underperformed, the Rangers have done the opposite. They have, in my mind, I knew they would be good, but they have dominated to a whole other level, right? Like John Gibson looks elite. And this all, by the way, like Igor Shesterkin's been fine, but I think there's another level to his game that he can achieve. And he's not there yet, and he can get there. But watching Artemi Panarin come out and just do what he has done, even the lack of production from guys like Kaapo Kakko and even, Mika Zibanejad a little bit there. He's not on the pace that he was last year, but none of this matters because the Rangers have just come out and have dominated. They are what? They're 6 points clear of the New York Islanders. I did not have two New York teams at the top of the Metro division. If you did, you may go and collect your $1 billion check, because that's probably what you would have won, having those teams sit in any combination of 1-2. So this Rangers team has a step up on the rest of their competition. So while the rest of those teams in the Metro are beating up on each other and giving up, a ton of goals left, right, and center, the Rangers can go out here and just comfortably get they're 6 points clear, and they can go out and probably take a 10 or even a 12-point lead on the rest of these teams here. I don't see the Philadelphia Flyers sticking to where they are. At some point, this Islanders team has to come back down to reality, right? Like at some point, they just gotta come back down here. They are led by strong goaltending, and the same thing where I think Ilya Sorokin can take another step. He's been good, but he's failed by a team that struggles to score goals. So for me, the New Year's resolution for the New York Rangers is just come out and dominate. Don't take your foot off the pedal in the second half. Come out here and just swing at teams here. I'm talking Mike Tyson in the first 6 rounds. Come out here and just bruise people away, because they have the team to do it, and they can really assert themselves in their division, and then they can lock this up and maybe give some guys some time off down the stretch, heal the bumps and bruises.
Exactly. You need to be fresh going into mid-April for the second season. For me with the Rangers, Eric Gustafsson has been an underrated signing on that blue line, helping fill it out and giving them a quality bottom pairing guy to go along with Braden Schneider. And the other thing too, we went through the top 6. Vinny Trocheck as well, playing well on that. It's easy to play good next to Panarin, but you got to help him out there too, and he's been doing that. Is the bottom 2 lines, their third and fourth lines. When they do have that lead, they can throw those bottom 2 lines out there, and good luck against them, because they're just going to
talk about Blake Wheeler. Blake Wheeler is doing well, and he's just slotting in there. And we just took him. They just took him for no money. And he's just playing a top line right wing role, just doing what he does best, and just hanging out, just having a good time. Probably it's at the fanciest New York restaurants possible. I mean, anything is less cold than Winnipeg, so that's fine as well. And he's on a team that dominates. Good for him.
Told you to go out there and get Wheeler late in those best ball drafts or best puck drafts, because he's paying different, for 800,000 or 850,000, whatever he's getting, and in those drafts late round, he's on a line with Kreider and Zibanejad, and if he's not on a line with them and they shake things up, he goes to a line with Panarin and Trocheck. Not a bad place to be. So Rangers, I mean, it can't really. They just keep doing what you're doing, and I don't want to say too much because it would be nice.
Does Benoit Allaire have a lifetime contract with the Rangers? Because if he doesn't, he should. I mean, Shesterkin, 906, a save percentage. Quick, 920. Domingue only played 1 game, but in that 1 game, I mean, he was lights out. So, if this guy doesn't have a lifetime contract as that, goaltending coach or whatever.
And he was Lundqvist's coach too forever. So when he was there, so yeah, I mean that guy. It's tough to retire a coach to the rafters, but they should do a Benoit Allaire night when he decides to stop coaching. But that's the Metropolitan division. Let's move on over to the Atlantic division. And you talked about dominance as the Rangers' resolution. For me, with the Panthers, it's just stay hungry. You made that deep run through the playoffs last year. You took the Bruins out in the first, or the big bad Bruins, historic run for the Bruins. You get all the way to the conference finals and you just run into the Panthers are banged up. B, Vegas was just, they were on a mission. They were not going to be denied last year. And Florida has followed that up and kind of just picked up where they left off, playing very strong hockey. They're right in the top of that meaty portion of the Atlantic division there. There's no reason to think they're in any danger of missing the playoffs. So just stay hungry. Just keep doing what you're doing. Bobrovsky's been pretty good this year. You got a good blue line. You probably could use some additions, at forward, maybe in your bottom 6 a little bit. But nonetheless, just, kind of like what the Rangers, Chris said with the Rangers, is just the resolution is to dominate. It's similar for the Panthers here. Just keep doing what you're doing, because you are a team to be that I would not want to see in any round of the playoffs. The only thing I will say about them, just for the narrative aspect, I don't know if I want to see the Bruins, not because of a matchup issue, but because what happened with the Bruins last year, and now the Bruins get a chance to avenge that. I don't know if I want to deal with that kind of underlying storyline there. So that would be the one thing if I was the Panthers, but just keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, that's yeah. I mean, the Panthers have gotten here through some strong play. They score goals and they kind of weasel their way into games, and they they're Bobrovsky's been good. We've given him a lot of criticism ever since he committed highway robbery and got that money, but he's come back and he has earned it. The Panthers got to play a little bit better on the road here. They are not very good when they leave the state of Florida, so they have to figure out how to be a better team. I think, having Barkov there, healthy solidifies it. I think also their defense now with Aaron Ekblad back and Brandon Montour back, it kind of solidifies everyone else around. So Oliver Ekman-Larsson can move into his spot. It's a good top four. They play well. At some point, I have to figure Matthew Tkachuk's going to figure it out, and he's going to put the puck in the net and really drive this team. But again, they are in a good spot despite how they, I guess, started the year, which is not even fair because they did well. They just, through no fault of their own, went on a long playoff run, and players got hurt, and they did what they had to do, and guys needed surgery, but they are right in the hunt here. They are in there, like you said, right. They're sitting at 40 points. They are tied with the Maple Leafs. Maple Leafs have 2 games in hand, and they are 4 points behind the Bruins, who, by the way, everybody was taking a quick victory lap here when I was saying that the Bruins were going to miss the playoffs. They are 4 points clear as of today. They are 4 points, and 4 points in the Atlantic Division is absolutely nothing because it is a absolute run to the finish line right now. So Tampa Bay has 39 points. They played 3 more games. Boston's got a lot of games to play here. And at some point, you have to win those games that you have in hand. They only matter if you win. And then, Detroit has 36. They'll figure it out here. But there's 8 points separating first and fifth, which it sounds like a lot, but it's not there. And the Bruins are kind of just in their zone here. They haven't been dominant like they were to start the year. They've come back down to earth. I'm just saying, a lot of people took a victory lap when they couldn't lose a game. And now they're sitting right here where there is a legitimate possibility that they still don't make the playoffs. I know some of you don't want to hear it, but there are teams behind them that I think are going to get better and that they're going to really push, right? And if Boston doesn't secure one of those 3 spots, right, in the division, one of the top 3, if they have to fight for a wild card spot and open up to the Atlantic where we think that there are teams that are going to get better, nothing guarantees that they will make it. I'm just saying that they have. Again, I know a lot of people took a victory lap and were laughing at me and sipping on their Kool-Aid, but
still a lot of season left.
Still, there's half a season left, and the Bruins have not been as dominant to start the year now as they were. So.
I think they've lost 4 in a row since our last conversation.
I'm just saying. Like I said, my DM was full. The TikTok was full. Everybody was laughing around going, oh, Lamau. And I was hearing about how Charlie McAvoy and that core 4 was top 3 defense in the NHL, and I couldn't believe it because Colorado was 1, so I couldn't imagine them having to take another 2 spot there. But a lot of people were taking their laps. All of a sudden, I don't hear much from them.
It's an 82 game season, so just got to keep that. Maybe 84 soon if the NHL.
We keep receipts around here, not just to return the gifts you didn't like from Santa, but we keep receipts from those of us who were taking the victory laps early.
Now, Anthony's team is also in the state of Florida here. What do you got for the Lightning?
Yeah, I want them to continue to stay patient like they've been through that time where they did not have Vasilevsky, and they are 1 point out of a second place spot behind the Panthers, behind the Maple Leafs. I think it's like 5 away from the Bruins, but they got 2 of the top 20 point scorers in the league in Nikita Kucherov and Braden Point. I definitely think that this team can make a run if, like what Chris said, if Boston doesn't maintain themselves, the Lightning can be one of those teams that overtakes them. So I just want Lightning to obviously stay the course and continue to play hard as they've been doing. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They won 3 in a row. And if they can continue to play as well as they've been over lately, then I don't think that they won't not make the playoffs.
When I look at the Lightning in their forward group, it kind of reminds me of the Rangers, where you have an established top 6, where an established top line, established second line, and that third and fourth line are there to shut down the other team. Very similar look there, and yeah, I mean the Lightning. You know what the Lightning are? They're just so damn good every year that we just take for granted that they're always in the top 3 of that division, and they're capable of going as deep as in the playoffs as their health will allow. So, again, it's again, Kucherov, great year. We'll see what happens with Stamkos at the end of the year. I mean, Cirelli as a second line center maybe worries me a tad, but I mean, he's shown he can get it done in the past.
I think for Tampa Bay, a little bit of the same story as the Panthers. They got to be better on the road. This team, when they leave, like the Tampa Bay, as of today, 10-3-3 on home ice, dominant. They dominate from start to finish. They look good. Vasilevsky's numbers are better at home. Everything. The minute again they leave Florida, I don't know what is in the water, but the minute they leave, I mean, they Vasilevsky can't stop a puck. They don't generate any offense. They just can't figure it out. I think they may need to make some moves at the deadline, kind of shore up a little bit. Like you said, that bottom six needs a little bit of help. I think defensively, there's nothing wrong with going out and adding, a fifth or a sixth defenseman just to bring them that depth. But this is a team, like you said, they know how to win. Like we've been here, done that kind of thing. Like they've been just so dominant for so long. And now you look at them and you're like, okay, but they're in a playoff hunt, and you're just not used to having them have to hunt for the playoff spot. They're usually the hunted. You usually have to find them and get past them and just, do all that. But they're fine. I'm not worried about them. Elite goaltending, solid defensemen. They got guys up front who can bury the puck. I'm not worried about Tampa Bay Lightning. If there's one team I'm not going to lose sleep over, it's Tampa Bay, and John Cooper and the rest of the gang will figure it out. I'm not worried about them.
They're there when they need to be there, and they're always there in the end. So again, Tampa, kind of similar to the other one. Both Florida teams just keep doing what you're doing. Now we head north of the border to where Chris is to wrap up the Atlantic Division. What do you got about your? What do we got for the Habs in 2024?
All I want from Montreal this year is to stay healthy through the second half of the season. That's all I want. Look, they're 5 points out of a playoff spot. In no way are they going to keep up this pace. I want them to just play competitive, be competitive in some hockey games, play better defensively. This is a young team. Marty St. Louis is doing the best that he can, and sometimes you watch them and they look like a second-class team out there. They get dominated. It's real easy to get into the zone. They got a lot of young players that are still trying to establish themselves, and that's fine. But all I want is for them to be healthy. That's it. Let these core guys play together. That's it. That's all I want. I don't want to hear, this guy blew out a knee and he's gone for 8 to 12 weeks, right? Or like the Alex Newhook, where you get a bad twist of an ankle and you're done for 8 to 10 weeks. I don't want any of that. I want the guys who are in the lineup right now to stay there and play. You get banged up a little bit, you need a day off, fine, not a problem. But I don't want anything of what we saw last season where you had to call up basically the entire AHL because you needed healthy bodies to just exist. Don't want that. All I want for them, right? Health, happiness, go out there, play hockey. Don't worry about making the playoffs. I know they want to believe that they can. They are not a playoff team. They are nowhere close to being a playoff team in a very, like I said, competitive Atlantic Division. They are not. They may crash and burn at some point. But if you stay healthy, great. Keep them out of the ER. That's all I want.
And it's momentum for next year, too. Every season you take a little step forward. When you play well down the stretch and you go into the summer, all that does is leave you wanting to come back and play as quick as possible and get, chomping at the bit. So, again, Montreal, like you said, stay healthy. I have a question for you. If they didn't have the history they did with all the legends and Hall of Famers, would Brendan Gallagher be number retire worthy?
Number retire worthy? Probably not. I think Gallagher at this point is a little bit overrated for what he is. You understand what you're going to get from Brendan Gallagher. I will take nothing away from his compete. If every player in that lineup competed at the level of Brendan Gallagher, this team would be unstoppable. Like he grabs his work boots, he grabs his lunchbox, he's out there and he is just grinding away. Like he goes to where no player really wants to go. Do I want to hang out in front of the net with defensemen that are bigger, stronger, more physical than me? No. I want to just kind of glide by. But he goes there. He works hard. He is what he is. He is not the player that is owed $6 million anymore. Like he's not that guy anymore. He is a depth role player. To me, he's a third line guy. He kind of slots in there, works hard. He's going to block shots, all of that. And he is a fan favorite, as he should be, because you know what you're getting from him. There are other players who you're like, hey, man, it was an off night. You never look at Brendan Gallagher and went, oh, he took the night off. Never. You know he's coming to the rink. I mean, the man's hands must be sore from having broken them a million times because he is just like sacrificing every part of him. He looks beat up sometimes. And I'm like, yeah, that would make sense. Like he's 30 years old, but I mean, man probably wakes up feeling like he's 55 on certain days. He has earned it, everything, but I feel like I would try to you can't move him because he's making too much money and he's got too many years left. And why would I pay for that? Right. But he's done his part, firm handshakes to the man, right? Whichever hand doesn't hurt. And then just kind of move. Yeah. Whichever one, maybe not even a fist bump, like an elbow bump, because maybe the elbow doesn't hurt as much. I don't know, but he works hard and there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to keep him around to show the young kids how to do it, fine. But he is not like, I wouldn't give him any power play time. There's no top 6 minutes for him. Just go out there and be responsible defensively. Collect your check.
All right, now we head over to the Western Conference. Let's start in the Central Division. Let's keep things north of the border here. And you got the Winnipeg Jets for their New Year's resolution. What do you got?
Yeah, keep up the great play. I mean, you look at the the Central Division, and they are 1 point, away from that top spot, which is held by the Stars, and then second the Avalanche. But they have the best goal differential at 27, and the fact that Scheifele and Hellebuck decided to stay and be long-term in Winnipeg, I feel really changed the course of direction for this Winnipeg team. And I think everyone has bought in, and you can see it in their play. And I hope that this leads them back to the playoffs. I know they kind of skated in last season and were quickly, taken out, but I like to see a better run for this Jets team this 2024 season.
As Chris likes to say, they played five good periods of hockey against Vegas in the first round, and that was pretty much it. And keep in mind, they're battling among the top, and they've been without Kyle Connor here for a few weeks, and they still keep going. Like, yes, they miss him, but I mean, they're still hanging around the top. I mean, and when they get him back, that's going to be scary.
Yeah, they have a chance here. The Colorado Avalanche, the Winnipeg Jets have to kind of figure it out. They are right there. And everybody discredit them. And this is a team that I believe can be a buyer at the deadline. They can go out and, acquire the same type of guys, the depth guys, the third, the fourth line guys, the fifth, the sixth defenseman. Goaltending is set. They have figured that out. They don't have to worry about that. Connor Hellebuck's a Vezina winner. He's got this, and he's going to play a ton down the stretch just because. But this team offensively has been good. And if they can just survive, right, just keep playing a little bit, even if they dip a little bit and they play 500, 550 until the end of the year, which is fine. Once, Kyle Connor comes back, that adds another element to this team. And the play of Nikolai Ehlers and Cole Perfetti, that kind of just solidifies a top 6 there. This is a good hockey team. And, kudos to them for going out and working out. They are competing with the Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars. And to me, those are two teams that are, when you look at them, they look very complete. They're very dominant. I still think Colorado is one of the best, defensive cores in the NHL. So for them to be in that conversation and to keep up with those teams, hey, just good for them.
And the other thing, first of all, I think, Scheifele or Hellebuck could potentially run for mayor of Winnipeg when their playing career is done and win, just based on the fact that they signed those contracts. Because to a city like Winnipeg, like where we were all ready to write them off and say, okay, they're going to be, plucked apart at the deadline and all that, they're right there. They're without Connor. They're still near the top. Colorado, I don't think is as strong as they've been in, the past few years. We'll talk about them in a minute. Dallas also, they're hanging without. I mean, like you said, they absolutely need to be buyers at the deadline. And this is a team I don't want. They're much stronger than last year, and this is not a team I want to see in the playoffs. Now, let's go a little south of Manitoba into Minnesota. And believe it or not, this is not by design. This is the last American-based team we're going to be talking about here today. till we get to the Winter Classic. So, Chris, you've got the Minnesota Wild here. What is your New Year's resolution for them?
Minnesota Wild just need any type of consistency in their game. I know the consistency thing is like I'm just handing out consistency here.
But it's a good resolution.
I am. I'm just opening Santa's, bag here of gifts, and we're just handing out consistency to all these teams. The Minnesota Wild are, on paper, do not look good. They do not look good. And they started off just
awful, absolutely
terribly, right? But now that since firing Creed Bratton, right, they've been just fine. They have been okay, but this is a team, goaltending wise, I think they are fine. Like Marc-Andre Fleury and Philip Gustafsson is the perfect example of what a 60-40 split would look like. And you give the other 10 to whoever you want. It's probably Philip Gustafsson, and that's fine. But this is a team, they need to be good defensively, because offensively, this team is just, like you look at them, like, no offense to Kirill Kaprizov, obviously, but this is a one-player horse. And then like Matt Zuccarello is fine, but in no way is he elite, right? Like Joel Eriksson Ek is fine. In no way is he elite. The same thing with Matt Boldy. They have players who are good. They are good players, and they deserve to be on an NHL team. Yes, but I'm looking like their second line of today is Marcus Johansson, Marco Rossi, and Ryan Hartman. Ugh, vomit. Like I'm not buying those jerseys, even if I'm a Minnesota Wild fan. This is a very a team that has to get it done by committee. They're not going to go out there and blow you out of the water like 7-2. That's not what it is. These are 3-2 hockey games. So they need some consistency, and it has to start on the back end. They can't be allowing a ton of goals. They can't be allowing a ton of shots. I know it is definitely a challenge to do that, right? Jared Spurgeon's out of the lineup. So this is what their defense looks like. It's Jacob Middleton, Brock Faber, who we're not going to put a lot of stock into, the poor kid, Alex Goligoski, Zach Bogosian, John Merrill, Dakota Merriman. Like, oh my God. Yeah. Like some of these guys are out of the lineup on other good teams. So any type of consistency, they have to win as a team, which means they have to come together and play well in their own zone. This is a team that executes in a 5-man, committee. You play 5 men in your own zone, 5 men in the neutral zone, and 5 men in the offensive zone. Because if any one of them tries to do it by themselves, it's not going to work. Maybe you give Kaprizov a little bit more of the offensive flair every once in a while because he can score, and he's proven that he can. But this Minnesota Wild team demonstrated to us, they sold us on the idea that they can compete at a high level despite not having a ton of bona fide superstars. So I want to see them do it. And they can, because the Central Division is there. Maybe not a top 3 spot, but they can compete for a wild card spot.
For sure.
They can, because, the Central is wide open after those top 3 teams, right? And I mean, the Pacific Division is like, they have more points than, Calgary and Seattle, who are also fighting for a wild card spot on the other side. So there is a spot for the Minnesota Wild to grab if they play 600 hockey down the stretch. It's there. It's theirs for the taking. They just have to play better. They have to play better. They have to
get healthy.
Stay healthy and be that boring hockey team like the Devils of the 90s. Just absolutely put you to sleep in the middle of the ice. I know it's not great to watch, but that's how you win hockey games. Just bore your opponents to death. That's what the Minnesota Wild have to do.
When you don't have like a lot of talent, that's a tried and true way to win. And yeah, like they're missing Spurgeon, like you said, they're missing Jonas Brodin. That's a whole defensive that's big for a team like the Wild. Zuccarello's also out. He's an assist machine for them. When I look at them, I kind of think they kind of remind me of like a poor man's Western Conference version of the Islanders with not as good goaltending either. I mean, Philip Gustafsson has been a little bit better lately, starting to turn it around, but they're a team that has to get a lot done with a little. As the expression goes, make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
They are the Islanders, but with better looking jerseys. That's how I see it. They are the Islanders. Like if Minnesota and the New York Islanders are on the schedule, we can just probably skip it. That's fine. Nobody's, like it's good for the state of hockey, but just, oh man.
If there's any positive for the Wild, they do have Pat Maroon on their roster, which usually leads to the Stanley Cup final. So
if they get to the Stanley Cup finals with Pat Maroon goes like he retires and he goes straight to the Hall of Fame. There's no way around it. He goes straight in there.
They give him his own room.
Buy a lottery ticket, let him scout players that they need to draft. I don't know, but this man has figured it out. He signs where like he wants to play hockey in June. The man is committed to working as much as possible. I love it.
If they give him his own room at the Hall of Fame, he could call it the Patma room. But all right. Let's go. Let's go to the Avalanche here. That's my team. And my resolution, if I'm on the Avalanche, is you got to get deeper down the middle. Like, of course, you got Nate McKinnon. You have one of the best centers of the last 30 years. You brought in Ryan Johansson in the offseason. And yeah, Ross Colton's okay. But you look at what Dallas has down the middle. You look at what Vegas has down the middle. You look at what LA has down the middle. Hell, you even look at, we talk about Winnipeg, what they got down the middle. Colorado, I think, needs more depth. Like, yeah, you're going to be putting Nate McKinnon out there a lot, and yeah, you're going to trust Ryan Johansson. I think you just need one more guy there because we know Dallas is playing well this year. Winnipeg has Colorado's number this year. And whoever survives that Pacific Division amongst the top three teams between Vancouver, Vegas, and LA, maybe Vancouver isn't that strong down the middle, but the other two are. So if I'm the Avalanche, I want to get another cup here. That's my resolution, is at the deadline. If I'm Joe Sakic, I need to get deeper down the middle.
Miles Wood's not doing much for you?
I mean, sure, maybe, but not really. No.
No, that is fair. Look, to me, the Colorado Avalanche need two things. A, they need Alexander Georgiev to figure it out.
That's the other part of it, yes. Okay.
He's got like a 293 goals against average and a 900 save percentage. Yeah. Playing behind that defense, no, that's unacceptable, borderline wage theft right now. He cannot be doing that. I know Makar has not been healthy at certain times, and that is a massive loss. But the rest of that blue line is more than capable of doing their job. And again, this is another team that struggles on the road. As soon as they leave Denver, it's not going well for them. So they do need some help in the top six. Like, Miles Wood is just not it. Like, I'm sorry. And yes, down the middle, like, you would think Ryan Johansson would have been that guy. He is clearly not, and that is okay because that's just the way that it is. But this is a really top-heavy line, right? I think Jonathan Drouin has been fine on the wings, doing what he needs to do, but they need some help on that second line. They need to go out and find somebody who can score some goals and some help down the middle, because when you are strong down the middle, you are going to win a lot of hockey games. And right now, they're struggling a little bit because they are lacking that depth. If this team loses one of those, Valeri Nichushkin, Nathan McKinnon, or Mikko Rantanen for an extended period of time, they are in deep trouble. But I need Georgiev to figure it out. I need him to stop hanging out with the terrible goalies. I need him to remember that he at least sold us the idea that he is good. Because right now he is not. He is not where he needs to be. He needs to elevate his game in the second half. Because once he does, it doesn't really matter then if Colorado goes out there and scores a whole bunch of goals. They don't need to, because you can win by being strong defensively, which I think Colorado is. That's how they got to the Stanley Cup. Let's not forget, they won a Stanley Cup with Darcy Kemper existing, and he had a save percentage below 900. So this team can win, but I do think they need some pieces.
And they're missing Artturi Lehkonen, but that doesn't help him down the middle.
No, but again, massive, shout out to Artturi, just a guy who competes, who can play anywhere in your lineup, score goals, power play, whatever you need, penalty kill. Just, man scored one of the biggest goals in Mud Truck Canadians history on a national holiday. Like, the man is going to get a plaque in his name for that one game.
Of course. And
just looking at their stats right now, McKinnon, Rantanen, Makar, tops in points. I would have not expected anything else from those three. And I always like to look in on Bo Byram and see how he's doing. I feel like he is a underrated defenseman. He may not have the points right now. He's only got 11 points, but him along with Lehkonen are two guys that I always look into, especially in fantasy. But this team, they're right there with the Stars. We expected that all season long, and I think we can continue to expect that as well. Just like you guys said, Georgiev needs to be better in net, and if he can take the proper steps into being better and helping this team, they can find their way back to the Stanley Cup.
Now let's head over to the Pacific Division. And, again, unintended that we've covered every Canadian team today but the Ottawa Senators and the Toronto Maple Leafs. 5 for 7, not bad. But we're going to stay in Western Canada here in Alberta and British Columbia. I'll start with the Flames here. I guess we can kind of work our way from the bottom to the top of those three teams, although the two of them is probably 6 of one, half a dozen of another. But nonetheless, your new arena is coming in 26 or 27 or 27. That's when it's slated to be ready. What are you doing? Like, listen, you're not going to go into that team. You're not going into that building fresh off a championship or a deep competitive run. Blow this thing up. And at least you'll have some direction by the time the new arena opens that you'll have hopefully bottomed out and it'll start working. Like, take the Sharks plan. If you start the Sharks plan now, you'll be on the rise by the time that new building opens. Because, I mean, geez, the product on the ice right now is very reminiscent of the quality of the building they currently play in, the Saddle Dome. It's just, it's awful. If you're a Flames fan, what is the reason to tune in? And I know they've been a little bit better lately, and Markstrom's been in and out of the lineup, but what are you going to be? Best case, you get the wild card 2 and you get smacked around by Vegas or Colorado or Dallas or whoever in the first round. Like, just start blowing this thing up and be competitive in 3-4 years. What are you waiting for?
There's no doubt that when they got Jonathan Huberdeau, they were expecting him to be at the top when it comes to points, and he is 9 points from the top point getter, which is Blake Coleman. I mean, Blake Coleman was second, third line on the Devils, and they didn't have a great scoring team at that time. And then you got Kadri, Lindholm, Sharon Govich, who also is a former Devil. That they are going to regret bringing Jonathan Huberdeau in here. We were making fun of it during Christmas. Someone getting that AI jersey of Huberdeau and crying over it. Like, yeah, he has really kind of. I know in hockey it's a team thing, but I really do feel like bringing him in has kind of messed up everything that Calgary was trying to do at the time.
I mean, they're trying to mitigate. Like, they lose Gaudreau. They knew they had to trade Kachuk. Like, they were trying to offset that somehow. Yep. And we saw that Huberdeau was very much, not to say all of what he done is as a result of playing alongside Barkov, but you take away, you get him away from one of the more underrated centers in the game, and now what? I mean, listen, Elias Lindholm is good too, but he's not Barkov.
I mean, as Nickelback once said, we're going till the world stops turning while we burn it to the ground tonight. This team is miserable. I'm going to take absolutely nothing away from guys like Connor Zary. Sharon Govich has been real good. Martin Pospisil, nothing to take away from these guys. But these are not the leaders of this hockey team. You are not turning to these guys and saying, hey, we need something for you. And it's unfortunate. Jacob Markstrom has played poorly, assumed the role, which is fine. But I still think in the second half, he can turn it around. He's a good goalie. It's fine. This Calgary defense is actually decent, but they can't score goals and they can't play well. We've already, beat up on Jonathan Huberdeau enough. It's fine. He is not. I didn't get a Christmas card from him in English or in French. I didn't get anything, and I didn't expect one from him because we have just not said nice things about him, myself included.
We have not.
We have not, but he is committing wage theft against his employer. I mean, his agent needed a bonus because they sold the idea that he was who he was. And maybe he isn't. And the same thing for Nazem Kadri. But the best players on this team have not been the best players. You are indeed correct. What are you going to do? Squeak into the playoffs and just allow one of the top teams to just cruise into the second round? Like, they don't have to do anything. This is an unfair fight to whoever they have to play. There's not enough here for the Calgary Flames to pretend like they are good. There's not enough. This team needs to set themselves on fire and just, I mean, you can't even move some of these guys. Like Elias Lindholm's not like, he's going to be like, hey man, I'm like, you could just leave me at the airport, wherever I end up and I'll be fine there. Like, you're not moving Nazem Kadri. You're not moving Jonathan Huberdeau. And like, what other pieces does this team have? Does anybody want? Like, I just, maybe Markstrom, if you want to get rid of him, and that they have, Wolf coming up who can take over and give him some starts and get battered up and beaten up, but this team is just not it, man. Just sell them.
Teams are looking for goalies.
Teams are looking for goalies, and Markstrom, I believe, is a good goalie. So he doesn't need this kind of abuse. If he wants, I mean, just stay within the province. I hear there's another Alberta team that needs a goalie, maybe. Who knows?
They'll never trade though, right? Like, we can move on to your Oilers next, but I mean, I heard the Yankees and the Red Sox made a trade for Alex Verdugo, and like the times that those two teams make trades is very rare. Like, would Edmonton, if there was a deal to be had on the table where if it wasn't the Oilers and the Flames, if it was the Flames with Markstrom sending them to a team in the East, like, can that deal happen? Or is it like, no, we cannot send Markstrom to Edmonton and all of a sudden Edmonton gets the guy they need and now they go on a run and we did that? Like, they can't do that, right?
Simple. Get the Arizona Coyotes involved. They are always, the third in the menage a trois. Have them retain 10% salary for a 7th round pick and then ship them off to Edmonton. And then Arizona gets no Christmas cards from any of those teams for allowing that to happen. But that's how you can work around. Just get somebody else involved here in the threesome and they'll make it happen. Maybe 30 years ago, teams would never think of doing this. Now, Edmonton needs to win. Flames need to not. Seems like a pretty good dance partner. Make it happen. That's it.
Well, if you are trading with Edmonton, you are definitely taking as much as possible away from them, more than you would with one of those East teams. That is for dang sure.
You are committed. You walk in to Edmonton, you say, "Hey, man, I need everything," because you're
gonna pay the Edmonton price. You're not gonna pay the same price that the Devils would pay or the Hurricanes would pay. No. Yeah, there's going to be a toll on Route 2 in Alberta province here. Now, speaking of Route 2, we head head north to Edmonton. Your resolution for the Oilers is?
Yeah, it's kind of the same as the Devils. I sat and watched that game in person, and I'm like, you know what? I am watching probably two of the same teams, just on opposite sides of the conferences, and they are like the Devils of the West. They got the star power up front with the goals and scoring and all that. The defense is not good. The goaltending is not good. And there seems to be a lack of discipline in both teams' play. And I feel like, obviously Edmonton needs goaltending and they can use some defense as well. But I don't know. I feel like I would just be repeating myself, as I think that they are kind of one in the same as each other. The Devils are a little bit better right now, record wise and points wise. But yeah, I feel like Edmonton is that same type of team right now and needs the same players infused into their roster.
Yeah, the Edmonton Oilers have no money, so they can't go out and get anything. For Christmas, they got literally nothing because the visa was maxed out, so they couldn't get anything. Right, Stuart Skinner just has to play better. Right, we talked about goal saved above expected a lot in the show. He has the worst goal saved above expected. Now, I will give him a little bit of credit because 5-on-5, he is not the worst. There are other goalies who are worse than him. So this might be more of a team situation for him, where you say, hey, like, the rest of that team in front of him needs to be better, and there needs to be a commitment to playing defense. Like, you can ask Stuart Skinner to do so much, and he has to play better. I get that, but it's on the guys in that locker room to figure it out. Like, they just got to play better, because this team is too Katy Perry song, too hot, too cold. Like, when they are hot, man, like, he's out there. Like, Connor McDavid is just doing what he wants to do, and then they'll go cold, and then they'll lose, and then everything is on fire and the world's falling apart. But like, they can't go out and figure it out by acquiring somebody. So they have to look and say, hey, we got to play better. You can't just let McDavid and Draisaitl go out there and just try to do everything. The supporting cast has been okay, but it's the bottom six that needs to be better. It's the blue line that needs to be significantly better. This team's got to do a much better job as well at killing penalties. They are not being saved by McDavid and Draisaitl and a power play operating at like 30%. They need to win hockey games the traditional way, which is playing well in every zone, for them to even have a sniff of the playoffs. It would be a waste of a season if this team missed the playoffs. It would be a waste.
We talk about, the wild card contenders in the West. If I'm a division winner, though, like, Edmonton is not a team I want to see in the first round, just in case. Listen, the goaltending may be terrible, even if it is as is, but still, that's not a team I want to see in the first round. And you're right, they can't really make any moves. Maybe they make a very minor tweak in the bottom six or a bottom pairing defenseman. This is the team that's, for better or worse, that you see on December 27th that you're going to be seeing on March 31st, and possibly into a stretch run there for the playoffs. So Edmonton there. Now, Chris, we got to up with the Vancouver Canucks as we go west here in the Pacific Division. What do you got for the surprising Vancouver Canucks?
Right? None of this new year, new me stuff for the Canucks. New year, same me. Whatever the Canucks did in the first half, repeat it to an exact T in the second half, and you're fine, man. You can compete with the Vegas Golden Knights, and that is a good thing considering they are the defending Stanley Cup champions. So if you can compete with that team, seems to be pretty good, right? There's a lot of guys that are just that they played well in that first half. I know they come back down to a little bit of earth, which is fine because you weren't going to steamroll every single one of your opponents, and you weren't going to play San Jose 82 times a year. So they have done well in the first half. They have, to me, I would give them an A. They have done well. You can repeat that in the second half, right? You know how when you were in school each semester, you try to repeat it or get better. Just repeat. For the Canucks, we're not doing anything differently. We're going out there, we're dominating, we're playing well. This is a good defensive team. Thatcher Demko has been elite, and I am, thrilled to hear that. Elias Pettersson has been good. JT Miller has been good. I mean, Brock Besser, I remember once upon a time was, a healthy scratch. Now he's competing for a scoring title. This is a good team. Don't change anything. You sit in the same stall. You go to the bus stop the same way. Everybody's in the same line. Don't change anything. New year, same me. Easy as that.
If you go to the rink a certain way, you keep going the same way. You got a certain pair of shoes you just happen to have worn every day. You don't,
Whenever the Starbucks order, you order the same thing, the same amount of sugar. I'll go as far as the same barista. Make sure they're there and just say, hey, I need the same thing. Just pasta and chicken before the game. Everything stays the same for this team. Don't change a single thing.
Even if you're next in line and you're like, no, you go next because I want that barista. Like, even if you build that extra 5-10 minutes into your commute to the rink, you do what you need to do there. We don't got to tell hockey players to keep superstitions alive. If there's one sport that you don't need to do that, it's with NHL players. But yeah, I'd like to see what the Canucks do at the deadline, because as good as they are, I don't know if they're ready to go in a deep playoff run with their team. I think they've done a lot to get there. I think they can, but I still think they need to add a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at the deadline there. So there we go. We've done New Year's resolutions for 12 of the 32 NHL teams. Now, 2 of the teams we did not talk about will be in the 2024 Winter Classic up at T-Mobile Park up there in beautiful Pacific Northwest Seattle. And this week's sweater weather, of course, is going to be which of these Winter Classic jerseys are you getting? The Vegas Golden Knights or the Seattle Kraken? Now, if you need a little bit of information to help you make your decision, here's the history and the reasons why they went with the class, with the looks they did. Vegas, is basically what it would have looked like if they had an old, jersey. And then the Krakens was inspired by the 1917 Seattle team being the first U.S. team to win the Stanley Cup. So with that information there, what jersey are we getting? Let's start with you, Ant.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Seattle's. I really like I like all of Seattle's jerseys, but I really like that, especially with the S, with the Kraken in the middle. Vegas is. I wish that was Vegas's everyday jersey. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of the actual Golden Knight jersey. I think it's kind of boring to me. I like that V there in that old school style. I would take that, but I'm taking the Kraken on this one.
Yeah, I never want to see that Vegas Golden Knights jersey ever again. They need to burn it the minute they're done with it. Burn it. That is hideous. That is atrocious. I can't believe people will pull out their hard-earned money in this economy to buy that. That is just. Oh, I can't get along. The color pattern's not it. Doesn't look good. I understand the gold. I understand it's Vegas. I don't know what that V is. I mean, that is a knockoff version of whatever the Canucks were rolling like 35, 40 years ago. And they just made it worse. Now, I'm not thrilled about Seattle's jersey. I'm fine with it. I think the S is fine. The color pattern's all right. It's fine. It's fine. It's It's okay. I wouldn't buy any of them, but that Vegas jersey is by far the worst Winter Classic jersey ever produced, including future jerseys. It cannot be worse than this. If you came up with that idea and you showed it to me as a guy who had to take a decision, the whole marketing team, the design team, we all get we all get a letter that says clean out your desk. This is your last day here. That is atrocious. I can't get behind it.
Now, I don't feel as strongly as you do, and I would say I would take the Kraken jersey here and a slight edge because the Kraken jersey's fine. It incorporates the colors. It's got the logo, the stripes, but the Vegas jersey, maybe it'll look nicer.
What part of that jersey is appealing to you guys?
So, but what I'm saying is sometimes jerseys look terrible on the rack, and then when they get out on the ice, it's like, okay, it's not as bad. But
this is the type of jersey where you turn off the lights when someone puts it on, so you don't have to look at it.
Chris is 0 to 100 on jerseys. He either loves it or he just
there
wants
is no
burn
middle
it.
with me, and that is a negative 10. That is Stuart Skinner's goal saved above expected kind of support for it. It is.
And I feel like they were like, if they had spent more time on it, like maybe they were on the right path trying to go off like a vintage look or whatever. Like, yeah, it seems kind of like half-assed there. And yeah,
can you bring back where you showed us the both teams? Because on the shorts pants, what if they did something with that Vegas script on the bottom? Alteration.
It doesn't.
What if you did like a diagonal? And I know you don't like the letters. If you did like a Vegas diagonal, that would look
no. We are not producing college level jerseys, right? This is Vegas. If the city's not missing any money, ownership is doing fine. They want a Stanley Cup in 6 years. The bar has been set now for Vegas. They are not doing Vegas from one end to the other. Okay, they're not doing that. Again, same people that come up with that idea. Fire them, get rid of them. We move. I do prefer darker jerseys, so that it gives Seattle the slight edge here. Maybe their jerseys wouldn't look better if they were the visiting team. But this Vegas design cannot come back. If you own it, like you should, like you can't even I would declare it as a loss on my income tax because that's the money I spent for it. I'll never get it back, and I need a government credit to allow me to stimulate the economy after that. It is. I just can't. I looked at it and I was like, "Homie, this is not it."
Vegas has a lot to live up to after that slot machine to unveil the Stanley Cup.
Exactly. The bar is set so high for Vegas, and this is what you give me: the flamboyancy of that organization to go out there, have a slot machine raising the banner, and the pregame festivities and the fortress, and this is what I get as a jersey. This. Just a V?
I mean, I'll say this. I don't like the gold jerseys, but I mean, if you consider the fact that they're a Vegas-based team and the color, like, it works. It makes sense, even if you don't like it. Or this, I'm
surprised they stopped one short of wearing the, gold buckets on the ice with it.
I'll say this. You dislike these jerseys so much now that I want them to win big in the Winter Classic, and then they get the idea like, hey, maybe it was the jerseys, and they get superstitious, and then all of a sudden that becomes like their unofficial white road jersey instead of the actual white one, and they go on a deep run and they clinch the cup wearing that jersey against a Montreal Canadiens team that had no business getting to the finals, but just to break Chris's heart.
They're going to go out there and set a record, like an outdoor, Winter Classic record, like most goals. So they're going to score like 9 or 10 goals against Seattle. Seattle doesn't stop anything. And then, keep the jersey, send it into Hall of Fame. The next time I go visit Toronto and go to the Hockey Hall of Fame, that jersey is there as the team with the most goals scored in a Winter Classic. And then we get to look at it.
And then you'll throw a rock at the display and get banned, and then you won't be allowed back.
All because of that Vegas jersey that's got just the V, and it is in the worst color pattern possible.
The V looks like it's flipping people off at the top. That's what
I believe so, which is what I think the subliminal messaging was. They could not believe that somebody approved this at the design and marketing.
Someone from Vegas' social media team will be watching this video and send a Morais jersey from the Winter Classic right into Montreal.
Is 91 your preferred number from your Twitter handle? Is that what you want on the back in case they are watching?
It can be 91. My favorite number is 13. So if they want to put 13 on the back of it, it'll complete the look. I will hang if they want to send it to me, I'll put it on this wall right here. We'll call it a sponsorship for one episode. We can call it an ad if they want
Should
to
we have
send
it
it
say
that way.
Morais or Fuzzy Chris on the back? I think you can win
They,
either way.
you know what? It's probably worth more money as Fuzzy Chris.
I would
That's
go
probably
Fuzzy Chris.
that would probably be it. Seeing as they're, if it was sent by like the social media team, I believe that's what they would put, and I would be okay with it.
I'm getting a little nervous that we haven't seen any Stadium Series jerseys yet. I hope it's not the same old when it comes to the 4 teams that are playing in that.
I would bet, so the game is going to be on Monday the 1st. I would wager that those jerseys come out probably sometime the end of that week or the very beginning of the following week. They probably don't want them to or maybe they do it like with the game, like during one of the intermissions. You never know with the NHL, but I think we'll get an announcement on the Devils, Islanders, Rangers, and Flyers jerseys here very soon.
The bar is real low to get past Vegas. I do not want to see anything just atrocious from some of these teams. These are teams with a ton of history. They've had a ton of ideas, ton of jerseys. They can come up with more than what it was here now. I expect that to be a lot better.
You see, and I am not a big fan of the Vegas jerseys with the knight on it, but I do like they did come out with was it the 2 swords or the cross?
The third logo, the secondary logo.
That one I like. But I don't like the regular Vegas jerseys for some reason. I'm not a big fan of
I can live with it, but this
they're okay. Not bad, not great.
But no, this one is horrible. This
is
Winter
horrible.
Classic
I'm talking about the regular Golden Knights jersey, but yeah, you heard it. Vegas Golden Knights PR. Send the jersey. We'll throw you up on the next episode of BHN here on BSN and Fantasy Alarm. But that does it for the last episode of 2023 of Bettor Hockey Now. It's been a fun ride that we started this summer. We're going to continue it right into 2024 next year. Here we'll be back with you for the first week of 2024, and we'll see what fan bases Chris can piss off in the upcoming year. But for Mr. Anthony Rivera at AntRivera86 on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, for at Fuzzy Chris 91, Christopher Morais, I'm at Pucking Thoughts, Adam Bernard. Been a great year with you. Appreciate all the folks that like and watch and subscribe and keep on doing that. And we'll be back with you for more BHN 2024.
Bettor Hockey Now is on the Bettor Sports Network.